All right, let's get rolling. Let's just get right into it. Mr. Petrou, great to see you again. Great to see you again, as always.
Great to see you.
All right, so we're here today to just talk about the Final Four. Any observations? We're just going to kind of roll with it because, you know, neither Kenyon or Mount Union is in the Final Four, so there's not really that emotional connection for us in this field. So, but yeah, let's make it a go.
Mount Union actually had a pretty decent year.
They did. They did, but they didn't tie enough, so they didn't get into the
Right.
NCAA.
Right.
I might be a little bitter. I might say some things that might come across wrong, but not to you, maybe to fans of other teams. But
well, this is if there's ever a time to do it, this is the time to go out in a blaze of glory.
Yeah, let's burn those bridges.
Yeah.
All right, so what do you got?
So while I was trying to think of what I think recovering is 2 weeks. So is convalescing a stronger word than recovering?
Yeah, or
I think I'm convalescing.
Or you went into a psych ward. I mean, that might be that next level right there, but
right.
Convalescing would work.
So I got a quick story before we get into the Final Four. So I thought I was doing better. I finally got out of bed. And I don't know, like a week had gone by, and I've always toyed I keep thinking that ESPN Plus is like free, and it's not. And there's been several times I wanted to watch something, and then I didn't pay for it, and so I didn't watch it. And so something came up, and I said, you know what? I'm just going to pay for it and I'll pay for the whole. I paid $99 for a year, and the reason I did it is because I don't know if I've talked about it on the show, but I'm sure you've seen it on the boards. And people take this the wrong way because then they get into like John Calipari and how he's a cheater. Like my roots in Kentucky are Appalachia. That's where my parents.
Deep.
My
That's
parents
deep.
my parents made it out of Appalachia. And, ended up at Transylvania, and then.
So you have that connection. I didn't know that.
Yeah. And then my father went to med school at University of Cincinnati, and my mother was a school teacher in Cincinnati. And then he did his surgical training at Chapel Hill in North Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how we ended up in North Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, so essentially from birth, I used to listen to Kentucky basketball games in my father's car. We got WHAS out of Louisville. You could only get it at nighttime. But since 1966, 67, I've listened to every Kentucky basketball game since then. Or I used to go, they had a Christmas tournament every year we used to go to. And anyway, huge Kentucky fan. So I happened to notice that Kentucky was the number 1 overall seed in the Division I soccer tournament. They're ranked number 1 in the country.
Yeah.
Undefeated. They get a bye in the first round because they're the number 1 seed. Then they beat, I can't remember who they beat, I can't remember who they beat.
Florida International?
Who?
Florida International?
I don't.
See. Yeah.
South Florida?
Maybe.
Anyway.
Yeah.
So anyway, they won. So they were in the Sweet 16. They're playing at home in their beautiful soccer stadium. And they're playing Pittsburgh, and I'm thinking, wow, like, because I sort of watched a little bit last year when they got to the Sweet 16 and they barely lost to Clemson at Clemson. And Clemson won, I think, the whole thing last year.
They did. Last year they did.
So anyway, so I pay the $99. I watch it. 52nd minute, Kentucky goes ahead 1-0. 54th minute, Pittsburgh has a shot. The Kentucky keeper has the ball in his hands, and the defender next to him, who played a great game, like jumps up as though in case it gets by the keeper and kind of nudges the keeper, and it dislodges the ball. And Pittsburgh kicks it in.
Yeah.
And so it's 1-1. Then, and Pittsburgh actually complained about it. Like once you see the replay, like they almost broke the kid's leg. But Pittsburgh goes down to 10 men with like 15 minutes left. And then I'm thinking as it ticks down, like let's at least get to overtime so we'll have 20 minutes. And then Pittsburgh scores with 3 minutes left.
Oh my gosh.
And so so this is literally a week after the Kenyon loss. And they're like, oh, I'll jump on this Kentucky bandwagon because I love Kentucky. And I watched Kentucky get knocked, like they're just as devastated. This was their dream season. Yeah. Same deal. And then during the game, when I got convinced that they would somehow lose, this is like unbelievable. So the goalie, I'm not supposed to say goalie, right? Goalkeeper for Pittsburgh, his name was Van der Sar.
Oh.
And he is the son of the Man United Van der Sar.
Edwin Van der Sar.
And the coach of Pittsburgh is none other than Jay Vidovich, who won national titles with Wake Forest.
Yeah.
And who played at Ohio Wesleyan.
Oh my gosh. Who knew?
So like his original, Jay Vidovich's original mentor was Jay Martin.
Jay Martin.
So once I saw Vidovich and like Van der Sar, it's like, how in the world is Kentucky supposed to win this game? And it was like if you it's sort of like, I don't know what the right words are, but like reliving trauma.
Yeah.
Literally like 7 days. It was Sunday to Sunday.
Yeah.
So that's and then there's this. We've talked about this before because intellectually I understand it, and I understand it's like insane, but viscerally, I absolutely believe in the delusion that the fan causes teams to win or lose. And so, like, I think there's some, like, and I don't know, the person I really admire is, like, our Hopkins friend. Like,
yeah.
He has such a great, like, Hopkins literally had the Final Four on their foot.
Yeah. Yep.
Like, they had the kick. If he makes it, they're going to the Final Four.
Yep.
And he missed it. He let Stevens back into it.
Yep.
And, like, on the boards, the Hopkins guy was, like, totally cool about, like, he like, I would not I'm still replaying things in my head. Like, was Kenyon really offside when they scored? And like, and then somebody else told me, oh no, it wasn't offsides. It was a foul. But on everybody else in the recaps and on the box score says, when you go through the play-by-play, it was called offsides. Anyway, just. But anyway, I'll have a few words about that after we get through the Final Four. But
so a few things to ponder. First of all, I don't know what you've done in this life to offend the soccer gods as much as you have in that 1 week. So I would suggest some, heavy juju on your side. Maybe get one of those people who like purges your house of bad spirits, and maybe that might work. And then the
Yeah.
other thing is, I have this strange fascination with, of all things, Scientology. So I've been, not because I'm interested in being like Tom Cruise. No, I'm not. I'm, um, just strictly it fascinates. That sort of weird thing fascinates me. And they really do believe that that you have all of these past lives that are attached to you that impact your present day life. That you go on the e-meter and it helps you understand these past transgressions or bad things that might explain why your soccer teams never seem to make the final. So
No, it becomes like a life story. Like I don't know if I can't tell if you're a like college basketball fan or not, but I was with my father at the Spectrum in Philadelphia
in
in
Philly,
1992 when Christian Leitner hit the shot to beat
shot.
Kentucky.
Ooh, yeah. I
And
just
what's
know that because I mean, that's like, that's
it's considered the greatest college basketball game ever,
unbelievable. Yeah, yeah.
104 to 103.
That's right. Yep.
And we were actually sitting in the Duke section because the only way we could get tickets is my father got them through Duke.
Duke.
So so I feel like my whole persona and identity is wrapped around this whole tragic trauma loser thing.
You know what? I think I am going to, because I don't, Kentucky might be a little further than that. Maybe I am going to drive over and implore the Kenyan men's soccer team to, you know, make it their standard bearer, their rallying cry, you know, win one for Paul Newman, or something along those lines. Like,
Yeah.
get them motivated to help you, because
That was for this year, but
yeah.
um,
Well, here's the thing. It's the years that you don't think is when it happens,
yeah,
right? That's
the
very
years when you're not paying attention anymore and you don't care.
yeah. You're so bitter at that point you don't care what happens.
Yeah, yeah. Now I've had a few. When the Celtics won in 2008, I was happy, and then in 1998, Kentucky got revenge on Duke, and they won the national title in 1998. And my son and I called my father on the phone. And it was like, it was like pure joy. Like you
Yeah,
don't.
yeah, yeah.
So anyway, the Final Four.
All right. So just so
Oh, you
happens.
said you had other thoughts.
No. Those were the two thoughts. My Scientology observation, that
Yeah,
maybe if you have a neighborhood Scientologist that you can chat with about past lives, that might help. And then I just think the juju, you offended the soccer gods in some form or fashion, that we have to make
yeah.
right. We have to make right somehow. It's not beneath me at this point. It's such a serious problem. Small animal sacrifice might be in order for you.
Uh,
That was terrible. I don't condone small animal sacrifices, by the way.
yeah, you're gonna have PETA all over you.
Yeah, yeah. Hey, that might make our viewers go through the roof.
Right. Drive up
Yeah,
views.
it's views. That's all that matters. We're in the controversy business, my friend.
Yeah.
All right, the final four. Kenyon and Mount Union are not in. So let me just say this. I was actually down in DC on Monday, and at the United States Conference of Catholic Bishops. Um, and as I always do, just because I kind of like walking the campus, I walked around Catholic and ended up at Carlini Field. And wouldn't you know, who was there training as a pit stop on their way out to Salem? It was Stevens. And I saw one of the players on Stevens played with my son. He's a really, really great kid. Adam Barakal said hello to him, almost like it was an omen.
Huh.
I don't know what for, but hey, it was good while
Why
it
why
lasted.
were they practicing at Catholic?
Because Steve, if it takes him like 6 or 7 hours to get to, it takes, yeah, it takes him like 6 or 7 hours to get to Salem. So that I guess they drove from Jersey to DC, and then we're gonna go across DC into
Oh, okay.
Virginia out to Salem, and so
Yeah.
they just stopped at Catholic. So, um, and you know what? It got me thinking about Chicago. I I'm not sure anyone can stop them. I will say this though. I am not sure that they are, because I've been watching old tape. I think they're vulnerable. I think they're vulnerable, and it need a team to exploit some of the what I think probably in transition where I think where they're the most vulnerable. They get scored on. Like people forget they do allow goals, right? Whereas Williams is really hard to score. Chicago allows goals go in. Granted, they score a lot more on the other end, but
Yeah. Um, yeah. Who? I mean, my predictions have been so wrong.
wrong.
Um, I guess I'm sort of pulling. I actually like the Stevens story a lot.
Yeah,
And even though they had to get through two PK shootouts, they held up their number one seed. Like
yeah,
I didn't first. I'm sure you remember. I thought Middlebury was going to knock him out. Then I thought Rowan was going to knock him out.
yeah.
And then
They
I
find
think I thought Hopkins was probably going to knock him out.
him.
And they are. I tell you, I listened. I think maybe it was after the. I can't remember. It was after maybe their Sweet 16 game. Who did they play? Um, they played Cortland.
Cortland, yeah. Cortland
Yeah,
State.
and I don't know why sometimes they have these and sometimes they don't, but they had. I watched their press conference
Mm-hmm.
afterwards, and the two guys they had. One was Andino, and I don't know if the other one was Silva and the coach was there.
Mm-hmm.
Those two Stevens players were as impressive
Mm-hmm.
as any players I've seen from any school in the country.
Yeah.
Like they were incredibly well spoken,
Mm-hmm.
had great perspective. Um, there's nobody in the country that has anything on those guys.
Yeah.
Um, so I'm sort of I like the Stevens story. I do think it's Chicago's to lose. I think it's their turn. I thought it was definitely Kenyon's turn, and I think it was their turn. So,
Yeah.
but now it's now we're in that sort of scenario. We're down to Chicago, and I think Chicago has a little. I think maybe we're finally going to see the Chicago offense,
Mm-hmm.
whereas where I think they have an edge on Stevens that they.
Yeah.
But I mean that I I totally expect Stevens to show up, and
Yeah.
it should be a great game. And
I am not
um,
expecting. I am not expecting a crazy scoring game, right? I don't think Stevens is going to allow them anything in the back. Just like Chicago doesn't, it waits for the error, right? Like it takes
yeah,
advantage of an error. And I don't think either team is going to do that. So, I mean, if it's 1-0, if it's a 1-0 game, it could I do believe like it could easily be Stevens up 1-0. I think like I said, Chicago wins games and has been consistent and they play really well, but they concede. they St. Thomas, right? St. Thomas, Gustavus Adolphus. Who would they last play?
They gave up one goal. They gave up
Yep,
one goal to St. Thomas, and then they
St.
won
Thomas,
4-1.
and then they won the 4-1, right?
Yeah,
They concede, and I think
not a
that's the
lot.
they
I
allow
think.
goals. They
What's their total goals against?
Let's look it up.
While you're looking, do you think Stevens can score more than one goal against them?
I don't know. That's hard. That's what you don't see. I mean, Wheaton scored 2. St. Olaf scored 1. Luther scored 1. Calvin scored 1. Carthage scored 1. Case Western scored 1. Brandeis, Birmingham Southern, whatever, however you pronounce William E.T. E. Like
Will Ammett.
Will is that it? Like, well, then
Yeah.
spell it that way. St. Thomas, they all scored a goal. So they let in 3, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. They allowed 13 goals in 21 games.
Yeah.
So that's why I mean they concede. They're not, you know, I get that they're good. Don't get me wrong. They still are formidable. I just, look, what was the game they played where I was like, this could be it. This could break them. Maybe it was the Case game. No, Case scored late, I think.
Well, the Gustavus game was 1-0, right?
Yeah, maybe it was that
So
one.
that was a little hairy. I mean,
Yeah.
um,
So that's all I'm saying. I still think, to your point, I'm still in the. I think it's Chicago's to lose, but you catch them on the right day. They they might have that Kenyan syndrome of like, this is it, this is the year, this everything's gotten like, and
right.
expectations and all that sort of, and maybe it catches up with them. And I think Stevens is the type of team that could do it. I think they're
Yeah,
really just
Stevens, I think, goes in,
tactically
even
aware.
though, let's tip our cap to, they're both undefeated.
Yeah.
But Chicago definitely has the pressure
Exactly.
squarely.
Yeah.
They've been to the Final Four like 3 times. They've
Yep.
lost in the semifinal every time, like by
Yep.
some fluky thing.
Yeah.
And I think they have more ways to score than they can score from the run of play. Plus, they have those 2 center backs that can score on set pieces.
I was actually looking at their their game score. It shows their goals and then who the assists are, and
Yeah.
they're one of their top assist guys, I think, is Gillespie, who's one of the 2
Right.
center backs, and I think it's because of all the long balls into the box or corner kicks. Like, he makes something happen with his head because he's also a tall dude, and then somebody picks it up.
Yeah.
I think that's
Now,
legit. That's still a issue.
does Stevens have any players with size who can sort of match up with them on set pieces?
I think they have a. I have to look at the roster, but I think they have a center back who might be big enough.
And I'm blanking on their GK too for some reason.
He's just got all region. Roster.
Yeah, there is this. People are going to be so sick of me talking about Kenyan, but yeah, Chicago must win the title.
Yes.
Like, they absolutely have to win the whole thing.
Yeah. Yes. I think.
Or it's
or it's
Yeah.
lights out, like or it becomes like that albatross around their neck, right?
Yeah. I
Like,
mean, even the Chicago guy on the boards is like, it's all or nothing.
yeah, yeah. I think the goalkeeper was it Justin Cross.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think he just made all region.
Yeah.
He is good. You know, I think I'll tell you, two in the front and two in the back. Two guys in the front marking Gillespie, and two guys in the back for anything he gets his head on that he skims off his head and are there to clear it out. That's about the only way I think. Um, I think that they end up, you know, being able to do something against him.
Now, if that game is still tied or Stevens is up 1-0 with 15 minutes left, I think Stevens is going to win.
Yes. I don't think. Yeah, I would like their chances very much so.
Yeah, I think Chicago needs to score one in the first half, and then they need to go up 2-0.
Yeah, and an insurance.
Yeah.
I think, like I said, I think Stevens gets a goal. Do they get more? But I think they get a goal. And I'm not going to give away trade secrets, right? I'm not going to say anything about what I saw at the practice, but I tell you, I was really impressed with, Silva and their other, the other forward you mentioned,
Bruno Andino.
Yeah, their speed with the ball and how tight they kept it. You could see those guys doing damage, right? If they're not, they catch you on the wrong foot. They could do damage that way.
Yeah,
and
they have some really good karma going for them right now too.
Yeah. So yeah, but I'm with you. I still think this is Chicago's to lose, but I still think Stevens can notch one in on them. But
yeah.
All right. So now the next game, which is a little bit more, I'm a little bit more confused about.
All right. Well, let me ramble about that one, and then you can.
Okay.
So, first of all, I said the only team that can't win the Amherst sectional is Mary Washington. I said it's either going to be Amherst, Oneonta State, or Bowdoin.
Yeah.
And they knock out Amherst, which was just unbelievable. I mean, this is after we just watched how they kind of bullied St. Lawrence, Amherst.
Yeah.
So I did not see that coming at all. And then when they managed to get through Amherst, I thought there's no way they're gonna beat Bowdoin. They're gonna beat two top NESCACs back to back.
Yeah. And
then the weakest out of all the NESCACs, in theory, who got into the tournament is going to be the one that gets to the Final Four. I remember the Tufts people saying, "Oh, I hope we get Williams instead of Connecticut in the NESCAC tournament." But I mean, Mary Washington is. I don't know. I mean, I don't even know what to make of. I mean, based on what they've done, they could win the whole thing.
Yeah.
Because talk about scoring. I mean, they got two guys that could score against Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
I think one of those guys scored 2 goals in like 30 seconds against Bowdoin.
Yeah.
And then Williams, I got to be careful how I say all this because I think it's just remarkable. I mean, if you looked at their draw and said, first of all, actually, I think the game they might have been in the most trouble in was the NYU, the very first game.
Yeah, the very first
game. that Arcan kid,
Yep.
he had 3 or 4 chances that he usually
Yeah.
buries.
Yeah.
Like they put Williams under more pressure, that definitely more than Kenyon did.
Yeah.
And so, that was a 50-50 game to me. Then they got Messiah on Messiah's home field. Then they have to go to Kenyon to play this team that absolutely is, legitimately ranked top 5 all year.
Yep.
And then they, and this is where I'm going to be a little bit, then they've got they score on a 65-yard set piece. And I rewatched the Ohio Northern goal where they only got 1 goal against Ohio Northern.
Yep.
That was off a long throw. Ball gets headed around the box a few times. It falls right to a guy's foot. So this is like, and believe me, if I was a Williams fan, or if Kenyon did the same tactics and they won, I would not care one bit. I would be like, we're in the Final Four.
Yeah.
I'm thrilled. So, however they did it, I still can't even. The only player I can really think of, I can name a few of them, but Boardman is the only one that really stands. Like, I don't even know who's on that team, really. Like, and like you and so many other people were like, should they even be in the tournament?
Yeah. I still say no, but that's,
They may win the whole damn thing.
Same thing, yeah.
And it's real. They're playing a caricature of Amherst style.
Yeah.
It is ugly, ugly stuff, which is why I understood Brown's bitter tweet that you properly countered with, all we do is win Elite Eights.
Yeah.
So, I don't even know how you could even predict Mary Washington and Williams.
Okay. Mary Washington. Let me just say, I watched the Ohio Wesleyan game, and I actually tried to go back little stretches to find video on different games throughout the season, because I know nothing of them. Like, they were not, they were on my radar, but they were not on my radar, right? Like, I watched, they're winning, and then sort of caught by surprise at how well and consistent they do. And I think where I really paid attention was when, they beat, I thought, a really good Christopher Newport team.
Yep.
In October, right, they played them twice. They lost the first time, but then later in October they beat them 3-2, and that really surprised me because I wasn't expecting that. I will say, against Amherst, I was really impressed by them because they were effective with the ball on the ground, and they got through Amherst a lot. Like, Amherst didn't know how to deal with it. And I'm going to say this, I think Williams might be in the same boat. Like, if Mary Washington plays the ball on the ground well and is able to play that way and is again sort of fearless in going into it, I actually think they could take it to Williams. Now, here's my thing, and I'll say it now, and I'm sorry, Williams fans, because you're in the Final Four, and good on you. You play atrocious looking soccer. You have really, really, like you said, there's individually, pound for pound, player for player, they're good soccer players, but they're just that. They're just sort of run. I don't want to say run of the mill players, but there's nothing one special guy that you would take and be like, oh, if you drop him in Chicago, he's a player, right? He's a starter. You throw him
Yeah.
on at Tufts, he's got a starting spot. There's nobody like that. But they're an incredible team. Somehow they have it going where collectively they are just really committed to the way they play, which is not really playing in my book, but they do it well. Like I said, they're like Amherst. They, as much as I despise how they play, they do it really well. So you can't take that away. This is what drives me nuts. The only way it succeeds, is because that guy will, the coach will make 11 or 10 substitutions at once, right? So he'll tell his guys, go waste it all on the field, and in 20 minutes I will sub you off. And he'll take all 10 guys and he'll sub everybody again, and which is very telling, right? Because that to me says your quality of player from your who you consider your top player to your number 20 player. There's not a big skill or play difference. It's effective. You could just throw the guy in. It doesn't matter, right? He's going to do the same exact thing as the other guy. And quite honestly, I think that's their biggest advantage. The only thing, and I say it and I say it again, and let's say it again. Teams like this in my book do not do well against a team that plays soccer very well. And I would argue the game against Messiah, I don't think Messiah played well. Like, I thought they lost too many balls. They were too erratic. Their precision was not there. I don't know what it was. And it could have just been the pressure of Williams. I'll give him that. But I still think, just like in Amherst, even, I just spoke to Coach Desatel the other day. Like, to a certain extent, sometimes Tufts is like that. If you present a soccer team against them that moves the ball, that values possession of the ball, that looks for space, that really tries to stretch that team out, they struggle, right? Because it's not the typical chase, boot, kick, run, the way Amherst likes to do it. Which is why I go back to Mary Washington. Mary Washington, to me, is the team that could do damage to Williams.
Yeah, I guess where I would push back on that is I think you'd have a hard time finding two teams that can actually play more than Messiah and Kenyon, and they got through both of them
again,
on their home field.
On their home field, I totally get that. I totally get that.
And the kid,
and I would again argue. I wonder, in Kenyon's case, I just thought the final third, it was not there for them that game, right? They just did not have that final third.
Right. They still had enough chances. I mean, Upton had one where he beat the keeper. He just didn't hit it hard enough, so Boardman cleared it off the line. And then Carson was one-on-one with the goalie. He shot it. He should have kept going, and he hit they had enough chances to win, but I definitely thought Williams outplayed them in the first half. The second half, Kenyon was better.
Mm-hmm.
And who would have thought with all those ties that – so I don't know what kind of little magic they have or what kind of voodoo dolls the coaches –
better juju than you, that's for sure.
I mean, the coach has a PhD in sports psychology.
Yeah.
Maybe that has something to do with it.
I don't know. It could be.
I mean, it hasn't helped me. The psychology certainly hasn't helped me. My PhD is worthless.
Yeah, it doesn't push your team onto victory. I think.
And then to your point about the players, the kid who scored, which was, I'll come back to this, another fluky little roller that if Kenyon's goalie had just stayed put, it would have been an easy set. That kid only started for the second time that game.
Yeah.
And that was his only goal of the season.
Yeah. That's what I mean. To him, that's why I say I think that's their strength, right? Like, again, I'm not. It's not a judgment. It's just the way that it strikes me that
Yeah,
they go out there, they play however they play, and they just have 15 guys on the bench that they just recycle in to keep this tempo going in a game so that, most teams buckle under that pressure. And that's how I think they do it. And then again, like Amherst and like so many teams, like these second ball teams, right? What's their objective? Their objective isn't to sort of make a play. Hey, how do I get the ball out into the wing to drop it in back at the 18 where my midfielder is going to be running through the. No, their idea is like, how can I drive it into the box where we have bodies flying all over the place and the ball's bouncing around and people are screaming, clear it out, and then somebody pokes it in. That's their game
yeah.
plan.
No, if you put 60 balls in the box during the game,
Yeah,
like one of them's going to go
gonna
in.
go in. Yeah, and I think that's all they did. That's which actually I find humorous because I always like try to be like that coach, right? Like, okay, so how would I design their practices? Like, okay, everybody in the box, just I'm
Yeah,
just gonna kick the ball straight up in the air, and you either clear it or you score a goal. That's what you do. I mean, I think that's their practice, but
yeah.
um, I
And maybe Chicago has the size to
I
counteract
think they
that if
do.
they end up
Yeah,
playing. But
yeah. I think they have
um,
every. I think they have. To me, they have all the check boxes, right? Again,
who
I
Chicago?
Chicago, and I
Yeah,
still think Messiah has those check boxes, right? Like
yeah.
they have.
Messiah's still undefeated.
Yeah, they have. I know that's irony. They have all of those things, attributes where you're like, you can't beat them physically. You can't beat them with the ball. You
Yeah,
can't lock down because they're going to find a way to score. They have all those things. But I don't. I hope. Honestly, I would love to see. Actually, I would find a lot of joy as a soccer game if it was. I'll take whoever the winner is of Chicago Stevens versus Mary Washington, just from a pure soccer standpoint, because I appreciate the way Stevens tries to play
yeah.
and obviously the way Chicago plays. I mean, you can't take that away from them. And I think just from a soccer standpoint, from the snobby side of me, like that would be fun to watch and dissect. And how do you figure out how they're going to do this, how they're going to win? Like that would be fun to do. But hey, I'm sorry, Williams, but you throw you guys in the mix, it just becomes chaos ball to me. I don't like that. We're gonna get
Yeah, well, when
we're gonna
you're when
get
you're doing
we're gonna get 3 hate mails. You know that, right? Like
well,
all
the interesting
directed.
thing is going to be when you do your show by yourself next week after Williams
Yes.
is the national champion.
It's true. I know. I know. I know. I know. It's just the way there is something like, you look at them and you're like, first of all, there's no reason why you should be in the tournament. I'm sorry. I'm really sorry about this. Like,
Yeah,
you take them, they got 10 ties or whatever it was, but you leave out Western Connecticut, which I think was robbed, right? You know what I mean? Like, I look at that and I'm like, that to me is just incomprehensible. Um, and sort of how they've gone through the tournament where you're like, this is the game, this is the game, this is the game, and they keep pulling it off, just right. It just almost like I know where this train's gonna stop, right? And it's like it's not the station I want it to stop at.
yeah.
And not
Well,
for
it's definitely
everybody
not the
else.
station I wanted. Uh,
Yeah. So, um, all right, very well. Very well. It's going to be fun. Actually, I might be down there. Actually, I think I will be down there on Thursday. Have to go to South Carolina for a soccer tournament, and starts on Friday. So we're leaving Thursday, and going to try to watch. I'll bring all
oh,
my
great.
I'll bring all my Williams gear. I'll paint like a sash across my face.
Yeah,
Just I'll live it up. So,
oh, that's great.
um, so I know I'm not going to call this retirement for you. I am just calling this a hiatus because I fully expect, the new show to come around again in next fall when you are re-energized and Kenyon is back in the saddle. Um, but I will say
Yeah.
and this has been a blast. This has been so much fun for me, and I really do appreciate it.
Now, this has been, first of all, totally thanks to you. Like, this has been just an incredible thrill for me. And, like, the fact that we even got a little bit of nice feedback and, like,
Yeah,
I mean, no, it's been, I mean, I've had a blast all year.
yeah.
Like from the very, so yeah, so I don't want to sound too much like Tom Brady or Serena Williams, but I've been talking to Giselle,
Uh-huh.
and she, says haven't been spending enough time with the family and the kids, and like doing my,
You have the NFL career to worry
you
about,
know,
Tom.
um, but I feel like this was like I almost stopped last year, and then it's so addictive, and then. I thought I'll give it one final go. I'll leave everything on the field.
Yeah.
I'm going to play injured.
Nice.
I'm going
Broke
to
his
play
thumb?
through pain.
Yeah.
Um, I'm going to do all the little things that don't show up in the box score. I'm just going to keep going. Like I gave it everything I had.
Yeah.
From the beginning of the season on the boards to I'm actually proud that I didn't tick as many people off with my bad. I apologize to ECSU alum. I was just trying to be sarcastic, but I was wrong on that. And then there was another guy, I think football fan maybe, who said that the referees. I kind of like said, "You got to be kidding me!" And then I found out that referees actually do. I found out from another source that referees actually do look at the boards. So
That to me is awesome right there. Like
full
knowing
apologies
that.
to football fans.
uh,
I was like the first one at practice and the last one to
yeah.
leave. I mean, I gave it everything I had.
Yeah.
And I was the ultimate Kenyon fan. I actually was confident that everything fell right for them, like Messiah lost, like
Yeah.
they got home field again. And it's just this is their third Elite Eight. They didn't score in any of the three.
Yeah.
They didn't get a goal. Calvin in 2000, and every time it was a brutal
Yeah.
Calvin, 82nd minute, a ball rolls under the foot of the two All-American center backs, and then the guy's one-on-one with the goalie. And then Tufts scores on a fluky throw-in against the same two All-American defenders. And Tufts scores in the 109th minute, right when we're going to PKs. And then Williams scores in like the 82nd minute. And I'm thinking, let's just get to overtime because then we'll have a full 20 minutes. Like the only thing horrible that can happen is if Williams scores here in the last 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And it was just, and I feel, well, like we've talked about, I mean, there's a lot of teams that had a ton of fifth-year seniors in the COVID years. And, but I know Brown absolutely thought he was going to finally get there, and those players were, just total devastation.
No doubt.
So, I do feel like I can't do any. I can't do any more than I did.
Yeah.
Yeah, like my midfield play was excellent. I was really tough in the back.
Your wing play, when you would make those runs, I was like, go. Like you were that on fire.
Right. Even though my 100-yard dash time was about 37 seconds. um,
That's faster than me,
so
though.
I, so right, you never say never, but I feel like this is probably the right time for me to, I mean, because think about, I mean, you're probably even worse than I am. I mean, like
Don't say
I
that, please.
literally, no, seriously, this is sad. And I get mad, I get frustrated with the people on the board who act like they're not on the board all day. Or, you know, or like, I'm
Hypocrites.
just happening to watch this game because I had some ironing to do and I got
Yeah.
nothing else to do.
Yeah.
And like, they're on there 24/7,
7.
just like I am, you know? And if you go on there 3 months from now, you'll see the same exact names at the bottom.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I
Um,
think mine is gone. Like mine's like tattooed on there. It's not even. It's not like it won't go away. It's permanent. Yeah.
there's Simple Coach.
Yeah. It's just a permanent marker there on that screen. Like, oh, there he
Right.
is.
But it isn't. I mean, I literally have thought about almost nothing else for 3 months.
Yeah.
And it's just been all consuming, and it's and then you get and then you crash. I mean, and
Yeah.
everybody except for one team is going to crash.
Yeah.
Like if Chicago gets to the final and loses, they're not going to feel any better than Kenyon does right now.
Oh, that's very true. That's very true. Totally true. Totally
Yeah.
true. And I think they're the only ones in that position, right? Like if they lose, they're going to be
Right.
as crushed as Kenyon is.
Yes.
Easily is crushed.
And I don't want to have the totally wrong tone. I mean, I am so grateful for Kenyon, and like I'm so grateful for my son's experience there. And I mean, like I wrote, since 2013, 16-5-3, 18-2-2, 19-2-1, 20-3, 16-3-3, 18-1-3, 19-2-2, 16-3-1, and this year 19-2-2. I mean, so they've. I'm like really grateful for how good the program's been and the amount of joy. It's there's obviously been the heartache as well, but I don't even really understand why, because I didn't go to Kenyon.
I know that's the crazy part.
I
That's
kind
the
of wish
part
I did.
Yeah.
No, but I will love Kenyon like
Yeah.
till the day I die.
Yeah.
So,
well, I don't accept your resignation. I don't accept your retirement. I do accept right now let's just say a 10-month leave of absence. I fully accept. And then I'm going to be pestering you again next year. And then
believe me, there's a lot of people on the boards who are like cheering right now, like, "Oh my god!"
Good. Thank God that
like,
guy.
It has taken us so long to get rid of that guy, and they don't, and they don't believe me either. They know I'm going to be right back on August 31st.
Yeah. I totally listen. That's what surprises me about doing this YouTube thing, right? Because I started it for very reasons that are very particular to me, and I was like needed a way to vent and channel some negative energy, and I was like, I'm going to do this just to prove a point and blah blah blah. And then through that, it dawned on me just how much I just love this game, and it's at all levels. I love the game, but to me, there's nothing purer than watching these kids play,
Yeah.
right? Like there's no. I know what happens when they lose. Guess what? They go back to class. You know, like hate to say it, they go back to class, they suck it up, and then they get back
Right.
into the gym. And like I was talking to the Western Connecticut guy, he had guys. It's the week out since they got ditched by the committee. Um, and he's got guys coming in stealing balls because they were going to go kick around. This is a week after that, and I'm
Yeah,
like,
I saw that. Yeah.
yeah, that's pretty impressive to me. And it's like that's what draws me back. And one of these days, we will be talking about a Final Four with Mount Union. Not today, but one of these days. And you're still
Yeah.
going to be there because the new show does not go away. It just
Well,
goes into
you
streaming.
absolutely should keep doing this, and the the ease that you have with like and how much you put other people at ease,
No.
like I've had people, family members, and even some people, have said like commented about, oh, you guys like seem like you really have a good chemistry. Like
Mm,
you have that with every single person you interview, and
I don't
that's
know
like
about
a
that.
real
Thank you.
gift. You have
Thank
a
you.
like real gift for that, the way you can put people at ease. And I mean, I was very nervous and like, because I'm kind of an anxious, paranoid person, and like, but I'm also like, I can sometimes push through that and like sort of
Yeah,
take a
yeah.
risk. And so I took the risk, and you were like, you made it totally easy. Like,
Oh, thank you.
I thought I'd do it one time and that'd be fun and that'd be it. And like, no, I mean, I loved it. I absolutely
Yeah,
loved it.
great.
And I can tell every time I watch your other interview. I mean, people are really comfortable with you. So,
Oh, thank you.
yeah.
Thank you. Well, all right, Mr. Petrou.
Yep.
I'm going to wish you and your family happy holidays, Christmas, Hanukkah, whatever you celebrate, don't celebrate. I am going to hope that you have a wonderful, blessed time over the next 10 months of hiatus. And
Yeah.
you get back into the gym, you clean yourself up, knock the dust off, and start grinding away. And we'll be back at it.
All right, my secret MVP for the Final Four is 5'3" Nelsar Castillo for Mary Washington.
Nice. That is okay. I'm gonna have to watch the kid. I'm definitely gonna have to watch him. So, all right, Mr. Petrou, thank you very much.
Buddy.
Really do appreciate it.
Yeah,
I'll see
thank
ya.
you.
Yep. Bye.
Great.
If you like this show, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss future episodes. You can also find me on anti-social media on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Thanks. This is a message from my chief marketing officer. I think this keeps him happy.